time that we previewed a Nathaniel Wood fight here with the Fight Night Picks channel, we threw darts at a dartboard with new nickname possibilities for Nathaniel Wood. I think when you're in your late 20s, the prospect it's just overblown. So what we ended up on, Matt, was I hit the London Lighthouse and you actually hit the British Bruiser. So Matt, hey, listen, we did all that. We got all in depth. We talked so much about Nathaniel Wood, and then he didn't hit the scales, and neither did his opponent, Vince Morales, in a fight that was supposed to take place at 135 at the last O2 show. And a few weeks after that, the end of March, Nathaniel Wood posts a picture to Instagram, and he says, I can't do it anymore. I'm not doing the cut down to 135. I am a featherweight. So I look at all of this, and it's kind of weird because if you look at it for Nathaniel Wood and you consider the prospect, the last time that he fought was in a fight of the night at a big-time UFC 254 card headlined by Khabib versus Justin Gaethje. That was the retirement of a legend. And in that one, that was October of 2020. So it's almost been 2 years since we've seen Nathaniel Wood step into the cage. It was an amazing fight. He's a former Cage Warriors two-time defending bantamweight champ. We know exactly what we're going to get with a guy like that. And I mean, whatever you thought about the decision between Wood and Kenny, 29-28's a bound. People were somewhat split on MMA decisions.
It was a close fight.
Yeah, they might, have an opinion on it down below in the comments section. But what I do have here is the fact that he's got all sorts of finishes on his record. He has a varied offensive in his first 3 UFC contests. If you go down and watch that, I mean, yes, he did have that loss to John Dodson where he got finished, which was a surprise to a lot of people. But if you consider it, in some of his fights, it's been a little bit of wrestling. It's been a little bit of pitter-patter. It's been some of those power shots. You look at his last 2 fights, Matt, he almost looks like a man possessed against John Castaneda and Casey Kenny due to the fact that Nathaniel Wood wasn't necessarily always known as this big-time volume guy, but his volume's been on incredible display in his last 2 fights.
And the thing about Nathaniel Wood is he is a volume striker, but he's not a 1-round fighter. He's not a 3-round fighter. He's kind of a 2-round fighter, if we're being honest. Like, he can throw that crazy amount of volume. He has good pop at the end of his shots, but at a certain point, it does kind of reach a limit to where Nathaniel Wood isn't the same fighter that he is early in the fights. Like, that's how Casey Kenny was able to make that one close. In the first 2 rounds, they were going back and forth, a lot of 1-for-1 striking. But by the time the 3rd round came around, Casey Kenny was just a little bit more active with his strikes. He was landing that kick to the body a little bit more effectively. I gotta be honest, though. I have no idea why Charles Rosa took this fight. Like, for Charles Rosa, he's 35, almost 36 years old. He was someone who was always a little bit more well-known than your average guy who was in his position in the UFC. I'm not saying Charles Rosa was main event in any fight nights, but you get the idea. Like, John Anik really liked him because of the Boston connection. So, like, it felt like he was always getting hyped up. But, like, is that what Charles Rosa is now? Is he just a guy who fights guys who are going to become ranked fighters at a certain point? And maybe that's putting Nathaniel Wood ahead. That's putting the cart before the horse. But we know how talented Nathaniel Wood is on his best day. He can defend takedowns. He has good power. He has great submissions. Like, he is an extremely well-rounded fighter. Charles Rosa has good jiu-jitsu, but poor wrestling, if we're being honest. He has a weird kind of striking to where it's that karate stance, but he likes to box a lot. I don't think he can get Nathaniel Wood's respect on the feet whatsoever. I really do think if Rosa tries to strike, he lunges forward way too much. And with Nathaniel Wood's accuracy, especially in those first 2 rounds, I think Wood's going to damage him a lot on the feet.
Yeah, that's the big thing with Nathaniel Wood. A lot of accuracy on the end of his strikes. And when I look at Charles Rosa, a guy who's 5-7 in the UFC, he's taken on some really good names. Don't get me wrong. What was it? Yair Rodriguez was a fight of the night. It was a split decision win for Rodriguez. But I look at the losses. He got dominated in the grappling by Bryce Mitchell. Okay. He got dominated in the grappling by Damon Jackson. Okay. He got dominated in the grappling by Derek Minner. Okay. He got dominated in the grappling by TJ Brown. Okay. He had really good output in 2 of his UFC fights, like really good output against Kyle Bochniak. He got dropped in that fight. And he had really good output against Shane Burgos. He got knocked out in that fight. So I have a hard time when I match him up against Nathaniel Wood. Now, listen, let's talk about bigger story arcs here. I mean, you've got Nathaniel Wood representing Great Britain Top Team, a gym that's coached by Matt's favorite fighter from Britain, a guy with a hat. Now, he's not wearing an angling hat with a Canadian flag in fishing lures, but yeah, Brad Pickett, the man in the hat. But I guess he's not really the man in the hat. Chuck Mindenhall's the man in the hat. We can't take that from him. But when we do look at it overall for Wood, it feels like this is an opportunity to get back in the winner's circle after being away for almost 2 years. And you look at the odds, they respect him. He opened minus 350, minus 506 on best fight odds right now. Rosa opened plus 285, plus 372. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprised us there to you. I'm going to say over under 92% Nathaniel Wood, making it hard on you.
I'll say under.
That's what she said. 93%, 1,076 votes, 93% Wood, 80% by decision for the 7% that have Rosa, 59% by decision. So the fans don't have Rosa. The odds don't really respect Rosa. He owns his own gym, American Combat Gym. Yep, he's from Boston.
Unfortunately, his business portfolio is not something that can help him in the cage.
No, I mean, good for him. But yeah, he can't match the output. If he can take Nathaniel Wood down, I guess maybe it could be a size thing. Obviously, we've seen Charles Rosa competing at lightweight and featherweight in his UFC tenure.
Nathaniel I think Wood's going to look good at featherweight, though, honestly.
His last fight was at a catch weight of 140. But again, that fight was 2 years ago. The only thing that I really have on this one, Matt, I'm going to make sure that I get this one right because we're doing a different setup this week. He's at a 3-inch disadvantage in height. He has the same reach as Charles Rosa. So in those boxing exchanges, I don't see that having this big overarching angle to it. I think
Nathaniel Wood's taller than 5'6". That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know. I'd have to stand next to him. So would you. But when I focus in on this one, I do have Nathaniel Wood here. Minus 500 is too rich for me. But I'm looking forward to it. The return.
It should be. It's an interesting fight to see how good Wood does look at 145 pounds, because let's say his cardio was really affected by the weight cut. Maybe we could even see a better version of him at this weight class, because he does have good power, he does have good volume. So if we do get a slightly better version of Nathaniel Wood at 145 pounds, he should fit right into this division, which is already one of the best in the sport. But good on Charles Rosa for taking this fight, because it is a very difficult one.
Making an all-British fight. I want to see Nathaniel Wood fight Arnold Allen at some point in the future. Matt, when we do look at this fight, both of us going with good Wood, Nathaniel Wood out of Great Britain top team to get the win. Matt, it'll be an interesting fight. We have plenty of interesting fights left on this card, including Scotland's Paul Craig taking on Switzerland's own Volkan Oezdemir. Listen, you're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.